For most of Judeo-Christian history, people were convinced Moses wrote the first 5 books of the Bible. No questions asked. Between plagues, Red Sea crossings, and chiseling the 10 Commandments, he apparently found time to crank out Genesis through Deuteronomy, including, awkwardly, the part where he dies and gets buried. Writing your own death scene? That's commitment. The tradition had scriptural backing. Exodus 24, Deuteronomy 31, passages that seem to hand the pen directly to Moses. All that time on Sinai gave him plenty of space to compose. By the Renaissance, this hardened into orthodoxy. Moses wasn't just prophet and lawgiver. He was also the sole author. A tidy theological package. But the text itself has a way of giving the game away. For instance, take Genesis chapter 12, verse 6. At that time, the Canaanites were still in the land. Sounds harmless. Until you notice, it assumes a later time when they weren't. That's hindsight. That's an editor's fingerprint. Ibn Ezra spotted it in the 12th century. He pointed out verses that seemed off. Not Mosaic at all. He had to whisper, because poking holes in scripture back then was dangerous. It was no simple pastime. But the seed was planted. Now, by the Enlightenment, that seed had sprouted. Hobbes, Spinoza, professional troublemakers, one might say. They said it out loud. Moses didn't write this. The text is a patchwork. 2 creation stories, 2 sets of ark instructions, a God who changes names like disguises in a bad spy novel. This isn't a single voice, it's a collage. That's where the documentary hypothesis comes in. Instead of one Moses, you get 4 hands. They are sometimes called J, E, P, and D, each with its own style, its own agenda, its own vision of God. What looks like contradiction when you read it is really conversation. The Torah in this light isn't a monologue, it's a literary coalition. Messy, argumentative, impossible to pin down. So what do we do with the claim of Mosaic authorship? We recognize it for what it is, less history, more a strategy. Say Moses wrote it and you lock in the text's authority, straight from Sinai, unchallengeable, eternal. Say Moses didn't write it, and suddenly the ground shifts. The authority doesn't come from the heavens anymore. It arises from history, politics, trauma, memory. And that shift is enormous when you think about it. Divinely dictated Torah is fixed, untouchable. A composite Torah is something else entirely, an archive of disagreement, a battlefield of voices, a cultural survival mechanism. Its editors didn't iron out the contradictions. They preserved them. They're not mistakes, but testimony. So maybe Mosaic authorship isn't about the past at all. Maybe it's about power in the present. To make the text singular, seamless, eternal, but the seams are still there when we read it, and they tell a different story, one of human hands, endless revisions, arguments that refuse to die. The Torah, in this sense, isn't a single voice. It's the first great argument in literary history, and it's still going on.